Yes.
Yo, brother.
I just came from another world.
Where's this?
In London, bruv.
We are in London, man.
The other London.
Yo, hi, bruv.
Nah, mate, I'm a sober as a judge.
You better show me what you're on about then, bruv.
Hi there. Can I ask you some questions? Just in the interview.
Oh, sorry.
Unfortunately, I'm good time left.
Get back to a meeting, I'm afraid.
You lot must have time. Don't see you in a rush.
I'm a bit late at the moment.
Yeah,
I would.
don't worry.
Cheers.
I don't live here, okay?
I can't, darling. I'm so rushed.
Another time we're running.
So what we've learned so far about this place is that everyone's running late, boy.
And yeah, that's what it basically is. The question that we're going to be asking is why this area is so rich, and obviously our areas, I'm from Peckham by the way, is so poor. Do you know what I mean? And how we could resolve this rich and poor gap. Because trust me guys, it's far from each other, like, believe me.
Obviously, this is a nice area, and like, obviously when you come to London, like you're not really gonna go to like Peckham or a bad area, or that. Have you heard of Peckham or Brixton?
Yeah, Brixton, yeah.
Yeah, like, and basically we're just doing contrast because like you see how this is a beautiful area, and like you know smoking your cigars, the sun's out,
Right.
you've got the thing on the wrist.
It's a nice day, yeah.
Basically, what arseholes we are.
No, not at all, because it's not your fault.
We were just talking about what assholes we are. We're like, they're smoking our cigars.
You can't have complete equality, but you must have dignity.
Even though yeah, he went a bit off the question, you know what I mean? I think he's a nice chap, but do you know what I mean? That's not. You didn't really answer my question.
So you're around the bush.
So we're gonna go out there and find somebody who can answer my question. Why is my area so poor and this area so rich? Like, why can't I live here?
Child Poverty Action Group, we're speaking.
Hey, it's Prince.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not bad.
I want to find out why my area is so poor and other areas are so rich.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you explain, please?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Amazing. Yeah, look, there's two ways of looking at it. You get a lot of people who talk about behavioural reasons for poverty, if you will, and so that's, you know, people who are unable or unwilling to look for work, and if you're suffering from substance abuse, for example, that means you can't work, that means you're living on benefits are set below the poverty line, etc. That means your kids are poor. We think that's only part of the story.
My thoughts are that everyone's in charge of their own lives and their own destiny, and I will go back to work at some point when he's a little bit older. Yeah. But it's great that I can have a little bit of time off while he's really small by working really hard before I had him to save up the money. So
definitely, there's always going to be that divide between the middle class, higher class, rich, poor. That's just life, innit?
I think, you know, while that's the part of the story that the press love to catch on to, and that's all the story you hear, the other part of the story is that actually there's some really big and important structural causes of poverty. If you look at things like deindustrialisation that happened, that wiped out most of the employment across north of England. If you look at the financial crisis that caused massive recessions in a lot of sectors and in a lot of retail sectors, for example. If you look at falling educational standards, increasing global competition, for example, there's a lot of structural reasons that there's so much poverty in the UK, and I think one of the reasons the UK in particular, and also other countries like the US and also Australia where I'm from, part of the reason English-speaking countries, I guess, have such high levels of poverty is we have these really high levels of inequality.
In a crazy world.
Hello?
My life is trying to make it grow.
Yeah, boy. Boy, this place has been closed for a couple years. This is in White City Close. This children's rights services has been closed for a couple years. Right. I can't even get to the bazaar. Imagine, look. I can't even get to the bazaar.
So if you compare us, for example, to continental Europe, which has a lot of the same sort of structural issues, they've got issues with, you know, global competitiveness, issues with financial crisis taking out jobs and these sorts of things. At the same time, they don't have so much inequality. They have a different tax and benefit system. They have a different way of structuring their society. So you don't get these, well, you do get uber billionaires, but you don't get as many sort of uber billionaires. You don't get Mayfair. You don't get Canary Wharf. You don't get so much centralised money. You don't get so many people who are just so rich, and at the same time having people who are absolutely dirt poor. So people who are living below the poverty threshold really are having a hard time in the UK. And
I was homeless on the street, and I was in and out of prison just for a bed at night.
Just for a bed?
Yeah, I was getting myself arrested on purpose just so I had a bed at night to sleep in prison.
The government could keep complaining about, you know, crime rates, gun crime, whatever, but they're creating it by doing all this rubbish like cutting college money and youth clubs and all that crap. They're creating a problem.
But you are lucky because there's a transport system in this country. You do get benefits if you are, you know, if you have nothing, and there are a lot of benefits that you get in this country. And other countries don't have anything that works. It's a bit lawless, at least. And I know there's a lot of criticism, but you get free healthcare, you get free education. It's regulated, so you know you can go to the local school down the road, and yes.
Things like access to education suffers. We know that school uniforms, for example, we have a lot of parents who are reporting incredible difficulties being able to afford school uniforms, let alone school trips and curriculum materials and those sorts of things. So you do hear stories about, you know, young people who make decisions about what GCSE to do based on whether they'll be able to afford the materials to study technology or art, you know, and they're the decisions they have to make regardless. Not would you like to do the subject that you're good at it. These are the types of decisions that people hear. That people use a lot is this phrase, heat or eat, and it's basically, it refers to the really tough choices that people have to make on a really limited budget. And in winter, one of them is, you know, do you turn the heating on or do you eat? Hence, heat or eat.
33, 31, 31,
35,
23,
21, you know.
I grew up in Scotland.
Scotland. Did you grow up in like, are you from
a little village in the country?
Yeah. So were you a good girl?
Relatively.
But you didn't really have crazy influences. Like you know how it is today. You're always hearing about like sirens. You can hear the sirens now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, was it like that, or was it more peaceful?
No, it was quiet. It was quiet and rural. But
I love Shepherd's Bush, but the crime rate is getting a bit unbearable. It's my ends, but I would love to move away for the simple fact that it's just there's too many deaths, there's too many murders, robbings, spare stuff.
I think what I feel lucky about living here is that there's a breastfeeding clinic on every single day, there's playgroups all over the place.
Free playgroups which we can go to, which the council put on.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you've got to be there too, but like stuff so you can meeting other people and like stuff for you to go and do, which you don't have to pay for.
Are you on benefits?
Yeah, I get income support and I get what else? Tax credit.
Tax credit. And do you feel like it's enough?
Not really, you know.
Do you feel like?
I mean, it's enough if you live basic. Do you see what I'm saying? But I'm not used to that. Like before I used to work and stuff, so now I find it a bit more difficult because I've got a child and obviously I'm living on a lower rate than I did before, innit? So it is hard in a way.
But I suppose actually with that fact then, if a lot of the people that you're talking about are having to go to work so babies are being left, is you'd need to structure some setup where you have creches at workplaces, that kind of thing, to enable young people to work and look after their kids. So there needs to be a little bit more tying in with the working
and it needs to be more
environment,
affordable because that's why childcare is so expensive.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of things around here. There's nothing. There's no like youth centres. There's no things that are going to teach children. And yeah, there's nothing around here for children and young youths and that.
Yeah. So you think that there should be more more support for the area. So that'll help everything get
There should be more support around here, yeah, because it's a up and coming area. It's always been good, but obviously now we've got a lot more amenities. But it's kind of like they're helping the rich and not the poor.
Then you get this, and everybody's crying, oh, they're just criminals, they're just criminals. Well, they're hungry people too. Because last year, they were able to buy a pair of trainers. This year, they can't. So don't tell me, I live in it. I live in this.
This is criminality, pure and simple, and it has to be confronted and defeated.
For protection, right? Right? He said, and then he said he was coming back. He was forced to come back from his holiday. And you want me to be polite to him? He's got all the money. He's got the money. Close the gap. Close the gap between the rich and the poor, and this kind of thing wouldn't happen.
The other mistake you can make is to say it's only a matter of criminality and social factors aren't important. You have to ask, why have we got the rights now instead of last year or the year before that? Why have we got the rights mainly in poor areas rather than in rich areas? It doesn't excuse the rioting, but it does mean that if you want to stop it happening again, you have to think about the social causes as well as the individual failings of the people involved.
It's unfortunate that, there's a riot, but obviously it comes from people's outcry, so what I think we ought to do is to find out what the sources of this, all this anger, what the sources, we have to attack it from the source.
Yeah. We need to have a recognition that inequality is one of the fundamental problems facing this country before we can start making progress.
I think if we get a bit more support, from the government, our community leaders, parents, just older people.
Inequality.
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 Inequality. Inequality. That's wrong. Thank you. People have to accept that this world, everybody is for all of us. We're all going to be living together, whether we like it or not. We don't have any choice. You wouldn't see me.
I told you that there was another world.
Yeah, you're right. A world full of inequality and animosity.
So what should we do?
Well, we could make a film